it's nice to be in Singapore because I love reading the newspaper in Singapore when I come here. The kind of things that hit the news in Singapore is amazing. The last time I was here, the front page of the Straits Times said that pigs were on the street. Yeah, that was in the front page of the newspaper. You should come to India.
They say laughter is the best medicine, and stand-up comedian Papa CJ is a strong believer of that statement. Despite being hailed as the #1 stand-up comedian in India, who held sell-out shows all over the world, the humble 36-year-old always tries to give back to society by performing free shows at hospitals. He was in Singapore recently to perform for the patients, doctors and staff at Parkway Pantai hospitals.
I think I'm going through a little bit of a change myself. I'm almost moving from the comedy business to the happiness business. It gives me great joy to see people laugh and make them happy. And I see no reason why I shouldn't be in places where people are under a high amount of stress or are unhappy or unwell. I think one of the best compliments I've ever got, I had an 80-year-old woman come to me after a show, 86-year-old woman, who came to me after a show in Calcutta. And she says, "Thank you so much, son. I haven't laughed so much in 30 years. Oh, the last time I was in Singapore, I was at this hospital, and there was this man whose son had been in coma for 25 days. He had a head injury, he was paralyzed waist downwards, and this man didn't know if his son would ever wake up again. But for the 45 minutes that he was with us, he just laughed, and he forgot about everything. And it's a privilege to be able to make somebody going through that kind of pain feel that way for that amount of time. So that's why I at some level it's selfish. I do it for myself because it makes me feel really nice. But at another level, it's great to be able to give back and make people just feel happier."
He has performed over 1,500 shows since he started the comedy trade 9 years ago. But Papa CJ, who holds an MBA from the University of Oxford, didn't always want to be a comedian.
You know, I came from a very simple Indian background. My father was a tea planter, and he used to earn 800 rupees a month, which is like $15 or something like that. And I sort of worked really hard. I took a loan, I went to Oxford, I did my MBA, and it took me 4 years to pay that back in doing consulting in London. And after 4 years of that, once I had paid back my loans, I just said, you know, I've got to see, there's got to be more to life than just a boring corporate job. So I took a year off, and in that year off, I saw somebody doing stand-up comedy. And I just thought, wow, this person makes somebody laugh for a living. This is fantastic. And that's it. I chucked up my job. 3 months later, I was on stage, and I did 250 shows in my first 10 months. And I've never looked back.
All over the world, we think of Singapore as such a sanitized country. You have all these rules and, you know, no chewing gum and things like that. But you people are quite evil in your hearts. And I'll tell you how I found this out. Tell me this, when you fly into Singapore, have you heard this announcement on the flight? They say that drugs carries a capital punishment in Singapore. Drugs is punishable by death. Have you heard this announcement? Yes. You have. But you know, they make this announcement just before you land. Not when you take off from Amsterdam.
When I started, it was quite difficult. I used to get up every day at 10:30, 11. I would have one meal at 2 o'clock. I'd sit in somebody's car in London at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd drive to some city which was 3 hours away. I'd get on stage for, at that time you got only 5 minutes. So I drove 3 hours to do 5 minutes of jokes in front of, well, sometimes there were 200 people, sometimes there would be 3 men and a dog, literally like that. And you were nervous, so you didn't eat. And then I'd be driven back and dropped somewhere on the outskirts of London at 2 o'clock in the morning. I would pay the driver my share of petrol. I wasn't getting paid any money at all. And I was too poor to afford a taxi back home. So it would take me 2 hours to change 3 different buses and get home by 4 o'clock in the morning. At the end of that year, you have no money, you have no friends, you have no relationships, you have no life. But every single comedy promoter in the country knows your name. So that's how you start, I think.
Now, whenever Papa's DJ tours different countries for gigs, he will make time to coordinate with hospitals in that country for opportunities to do free shows. But does the comedian, who confesses he has a playful and naughty style, refrain from making certain jokes in hospital settings?
And then, of course, in Singapore last year, you had all these sex scandals. There was this, what was this? Blowjobs for contract scandal, which in the rest of the world they call marriage.
It depends on the audience, so I'll always check with the audience what they're comfortable with. I mean, today's show was a little bit naughty, but That's also because, one, there were no children there, and I was speaking to the doctors earlier, and they are very naughty doctors here. As you noticed in the show, you could see the interaction, so you sort of gauge the level between what is okay and what is not okay. At the end of the day, I'm not here to offend. I'm here to entertain. I'm here to make people feel better. So I'm very careful not to cross a line which people are not happy with. That's it.